see the shining sea. I've seen a lot of places, people that were nice to me. One place that's in my heart, and this is how I feel. I'm talking about my hometown, Fayetteville. She's nestled in the sand hills on a river called Fayetteville. Special to so many who proudly served our country here. She was named for Lafayette and known for cotton mills. I'm talking about my hometown, Fayetteville. My hometown, Fayetteville. I'm so proud to be from here. It don't take long when you're away from home to find out how you feel. It's always good to come home to Fayetteville. Babe Ruth hit his first one, heard around the world. Sherman marched with the Union and burned the arsenal. Old Market House still standing, but stands for freedom's will. I'm talking about my hometown, Fayetteville. My hometown, Fayetteville. I'm so proud to be from here. It don't take long when you're away from home to find out how you feel. It's always good to come home to Fayetteville. My all-American city, Fayetteville. Talking about my hometown, Fayetteville.
We'll call the February 13th Fayetteville City Council meeting to order. Thank everyone for being here tonight. And we ask for you to stand for our invocation led tonight by Councilman Wade Fowler. And then if you would remain standing for a Pledge of Allegiance, which tonight is going to be led by Scout Troop 747 from St. James Lutheran Church.
Let's pray. Father, we just praise you and thank you for the ability to call you, Father, and to gather here together and to freely worship you in this great country and this great city that we live in. Father, I pray for wisdom for the council as we wrestle with many decisions that come up all the time, and that we'd be mindful of the citizens that we serve. And Lord, I just pray for our citizens, that Lord, that we as neighbors of one another would take your command, Father, and to esteem others more highly than we do ourselves. And in so doing, that we'd be willing to serve one another out of the goodness of our hearts and not out of compulsion, Father, but because we love others as you have loved us. Thank you for this time together. We pray again, that all that would be done would be helpful to the city, Father, and glorifying to you. And I pray this, Father, in the name of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. All right, troopers.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for your involvement in scouting. Thanks for being here tonight. Council will now move to item 4.0, which is approval of tonight's agenda. Mr. Arp?
Mr. Mayor, I would move that we make a minor amendment to the agenda, that we add item 5.2, which would be an update on the traffic stop action plan, and approve the agenda as presented.
Okay.
Second.
That, sir.
Second, Mr. Hare. Thank you so much. Any discussion on that motion? Ask for your vote, please. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. We'll now move to the public forum, and let me give everyone the instructions on the forum. As you know, it's designed to invite citizen input and discussion. The public forum shall last no longer than 15 minutes, and each speaker shall have up to 2 minutes to address council on issues related to the city of Fayetteville. If you're interested in speaking on any of the items that are designated as a public hearing, and we do have 2 of those tonight, we ask that you reserve your comments until that public hearing. When you see the light located on the podium change from green to yellow, that means there's approximately 30 seconds left. And when the timer located on the podium blinks and changes from yellow to red, that means the full 2 minutes has expired. When your name is called, we ask you come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. I do know we have several people here tonight that are interested in speaking on the Fayetteville Road rezoning. And just a reminder of the process we're in with that, that came out of staff with a recommendation of denial of that rezoning. It went to the zoning commission, the zoning board on the 24th, where it was also recommended a denial. It is coming to this body 2 weeks from tonight on the 27th, at which time there'll be another public hearing on that rezoning. So I would encourage you, in addition to being here tonight and having the opportunity to speak for a couple of minutes, you really would have the opportunity to speak even more lengthier 2 weeks from tonight on the 27th, when the public hearing for that particular rezoning will come before this body. But having said that, we'll open tonight's public forum, and Madam Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, we did have Mr. Roosevelt Odom as our first guest speaker tonight, but we do not have a sign language interpreter. Okay, so we'll be postponing that until March.
Okay.
Okay, our second speaker signed up is Mr. Carrie Pierce.
My name is Kerry Pierce. I retired from the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office in 2006. I was a detective, a state-certified instructor, and a field training officer. I taught at Basic Law Enforcement Academy at FTCC for 5 years. Consent to search is one of the many tools in the police arsenal used to fight crime. It helps stem the flow of drugs and weapons into our city. Without consent to search available to our police officers, both officers and citizens are at risk. Certain criteria must be in place before an officer can even ask for consent to search. After consent to search is obtained, the officer must follow stringent guidelines during the search. After the search is completed, the officer must submit a detailed report citing the reason for the search and the results. All of this is part of laws, standards, and policies directed by our state. Every law enforcement officer and agency in our state is required to meet these standards. Consent to search has also been approved by the U.S. Supreme Court. I do not believe that our city police are targeting certain groups or profiling. With the state requirements and reporting laws as they are, it would be nearly impossible for that to happen. I would respectfully ask the mayor and the city council to consider all of the data in the matter of vehicle stops and consent to search. There is much more to be learned. While it may be true that more black drivers are stopped than white drivers, much more data which is available is needed to determine if police officers are profiling. My plea to you is that you dismiss the moratorium on consent to searches, then gather all of the data. After that, make your decision based on complete information.
Mr. Pierce, can you give us your address, sir? Can I have your address, please?
Yes, 3363 Quarry Drive, Fayetteville.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for coming tonight.
So our next speaker is Mr. Myron Brown.
God bless you. My name is Myron Brown. My address is 1120 Southern Avenue, Fayetteville, North Carolina, 28301. I'm addressing an issue on the Homeless Coalition. I have extensive background with the Homeless Coalition in three other states, in Montgomery, Alabama, and also in Tallahassee, Florida, and also in Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm also a nonprofit organization, but I don't carry a 501(c)(3) in this state at this present time, applying for at this present time. But I also have a business occupancy license of a EIN. And I'm asking that you city council members and the mayor and assistant mayor to address this issue with the city officials together on this crisis situation that what you have for the homeless here in this town of Fayetteville, because there's a growing epidemic of people like a floppy disk on the bridges, and not enough bedding at the Salvation Army, or even at the Hope Center, or even at other places that you have in this city. And I truly believe that a problem can be solved first from the top, and you work together with the city people and the business owners, and also the leaders of the minister staff of the churches and the community. And I truly think if you work together on these people and try to come up with a declaration, a resolution to get these people off the streets, or make some type of, thank you very much.
You have 29 more seconds, sir, if you'd like to.
I thank you for that. But I truly think that if you work with the people on the community at the church level, then they can work with you. Now, we have people out there at Inasmuch Ministry and all these places, but like I said before, I have done my studies in the state, and plus and here in Fayetteville, it's not enough bedding. Give these people opportunities to uprise their shelters, so you'll have people to come out and do things. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Thank you for coming, sir.
So our next speaker is Mr. Chris North. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, thank you very much for this opportunity to address to you my concerns about the business going on in Fayetteville. They're at it again. The developers and those who would profit at the expense, discomfort, and safety of the people who live in Summerhill. I don't know why they always pick on Summerhill. Why can't our city council not sometimes nip this thing in the bud when they try to encroach again on Summerhill? It's not that we haven't made our feelings about that in the past. We're very well known. Maybe we the people have not made it known, so I'm going to try to tell you again tonight how we feel about it. We want no further encroachment in Summerhill from contractors, builders that's going to come in and gouge out holes in our neighborhood. We reject any kind of encroachment that will result in any quantum increase in population, automobiles, noise, crime, and property devaluation affecting our originally planned and quiet single-family type neighborhood. The statistics of crime statistics and the traffic statistics and the position map will further back up what I am saying. We fervently hope that you'll see our predicament and that you will see your way clear to turn down this request to go into our neighborhood and tear things up again. We're just a little bit tired of it, and this time we're not going to take it. And you need to know that this is not finished. We're going to make it a fight out of it, and you need to know that, so we don't say we didn't warn you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. North. Thank you for coming, sir.
My address is 902 Penwall Court. I live in Summerhill.
Mr. Mayor, our next speaker is Mr. Irving Maxwell.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council. My name is Irving Maxwell. My wife and I have lived at 7113 Fayetteville Road for over 30 years. As homeowners, we are opposed to the rezoning of the property at 7015 Fayetteville, which would allow 120 apartments to be built. The rezoning would increase the population density in an already congested area, increase traffic and traffic accidents on the street, and have a negative impact on the quality of life of homeowners. Fayetteville Road, located between Yadkin and Raleigh Roads, is the last connecting road before entering Fort Bragg. With the cut-through traffic, our street has become a major thoroughfare. According to DOT's annual average daily traffic report, over 9,200 vehicles traveled Fayetteville Road on a daily basis in 2010. At times, the traffic is so heavy that we are forced to turn around on our lawns to avoid backing out onto the street. Speed is also a concern. According to the police department, 45 accidents and 186 citations were written in the Fayetteville Road area during 2011. The lack of sidewalks on the street makes walking or crossing the road a risky venture. Fayetteville Road is the only entrance-exit to the property in question, and the frontage is located on the portion of the street where Fayetteville enters a blind curve and begins a noticeable descent. This area becomes extremely hazardous during icy or snowy conditions. In addition, the property is located opposite Danish Drive, which is the only access to the Four Seasons housing area. We appeal to you to vote against the rezoning of the property. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Maxwell, thank you for coming, sir.
Sir?
Thank you for coming, sir.
Thank you.
So our next speaker is Mr. Emmett Dover.
Sir. Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, I am Emmett L. Dover, and I live at 6463 Freeport Road, and have been a homeowner there since 1984. My wife and I returned from Europe in 1984 and selected our home as it was in an established single-family neighborhood in well-built brick homes, large lots, mature trees for screening and protection, and a nearness to Fort Bragg. After retirement for the Army, I joined the Fayetteville Police Department, and after 15 years, retired and settled down to a nice, comfortable life in a friendly neighborhood. Then on April the 16th, we had a surprise tornado come through our area, which caused significant damage to our neighborhood and to our property. As we were still recovering from that, we received a letter which I have passed out to you from the City Planning Board, which talked about the rezoning in Fayetteville Road. You will see there's attached to that a map that shows an area that is supposedly affected by this rezoning. It shows 500-foot area. If you will also note, I have given you a map, and that map actually shows the area that is being affected. It is outlined in yellow on your map. The area abuts Fort Bragg to the north, and the area has only 5 entry-exit points into the neighborhoods. Fayetteville Road in this area has 5 developments: Old and New Summerhill, Four Seasons, and Roundtree subdivisions. There are only 5 exits. Exit number A on your map. Okay. There are only 5 exits. They are noted on your map. And they become very busy at 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the evening and 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. in the morning as Fort Bragg goes on post. And it becomes dangerous to try to get out and in of our neighborhood. Hopefully with these maps and everything else, the fellow homeowners and myself hope that you relook at this area and deny this rezoning. Sir, thank you very much. That concludes my presentation.
Mr. Dover, thank you for coming, sir. We appreciate it.
So our next speaker is Ms. Wendy DeLigio.
Hello, I am Wendy Mishner. I live at 223 Hillside. And I have come for 2 things. One of them is to let you know that there is an Occupy Fayetteville group, local group. We are peaceful and law-abiding. And we have decided to make you one of our projects. We're going to try and attend as often as you guys do, which we don't think we'll probably be able to do, but we're going to give it a good try. The other point was that we would like to request of you to consider passing an ordinance to give preference to local business when you put a contract out to bid. And this is something that is not radical, it's not new. The state of North Carolina has such a statute. It relates to 143-59 in the general statutes, and was an executive order number 50 in 2010, was written to establish, to give preference as far as practical to North Carolina products. And the fine print, to develop a price matching preference for North Carolina residents within 5% or $10,000 of the lowest bid. And so we would like to request that this council would consider writing something similar for themselves to support and to help local businesses here. It's painful, I have to tell you, just straight out painful when the city council decides to do something like the parking deck and sends the work out of our city. Sends the work to somebody else. It's not like we don't have people who know how to build and design and do all those things. We're qualified. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
So we have Miss Mary McGrew.
She's coming.
Good evening.
Evening, ma'am.
First of all, I would like to give honor to my Lord and Savior, who gives me mercy and goodness every day and all throughout my life, and he directs my path. Good evening, Mayor, Council, city officials, and everyone in this room. I'm Mary McGrew. For over 40 years, we lived in Fayetteville, North Carolina, my husband and I. He's retired, about 30 years military. For the last 40 years. Recently, we moved at 9079 NC Highway 20, which is in Lumber Bridge. I would like to express my opinion on the ramp project, and I would like to say we own property in this all-American city. Although we check on it often, we can't keep up with what our tenants are doing 24 hours a day. And we do background checks on them, and sometimes everything is good till they get in there. I think the fines and procedures need to be taken another look at with another solution. And when we start to put tenants out, after giving them a letter, giving them their notices in the mail, they go down to the city inspectors and they find something wrong. Everything is fine for a year, 2 years, whatever, but they find something wrong. And has there been a study on other than landlords? We're entrepreneurs. Has there been a study on people, the havoc and police calls and all that on just people that's not landlords? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. McGrew. Thank you for coming, ma'am.
Sir, our last speaker is Miss Wendy DeLigio.
Ms. DeLigio, is there a... Okay, ma'am. That's a different... Is that it?
Yes, sir, that's
Okay,
the,
thank you very much. We'll close the public forum. And just for some bit of information, the council has been involved over the last, I guess, 6 months with multiple discussions on promoting local business to include ordinances, and that remains a very challenging goal. We've tried to find that, and it's one we're very much interested in. We have not figured out a way to do that yet, but it is something we're looking for. And your comments on the parking deck, just want to remind people that the parking deck grand opening will be on the 24th of this month. And actually, that was an example of a local involvement. It was designed by a local team, and a local team actually partnered with an experienced parking deck constructor for the development of that deck. So we think that was a win-win for the community. We encourage everybody to be there on the 24th and for the grand opening.
Is there a time on that, Mayor?
6 p.m. 6 p.m. on the 24th. I think that's the fourth Friday night. Okay, council will now move to item 5.2, which was added this evening, and that's an update from the city manager on the traffic stop action plan. Mr. Hyman?
Good evening, council.
Good evening, sir.
Let me see if I can get this blown up a little bigger.
I think we're getting copies. Yeah.
What I wanted to do this evening is to present to you a report on the progress and the anticipated timeline for the implementation of the four-step process that was identified by City Council on January 27th as action items for the moratorium on vehicular consent searches. The first step identified, or the action rather identified, is to identify an organization which is external to the Fayetteville Police Department to review all traffic stop policies, procedures, and standards of conduct. The goal of that action item is to initiate a self-assessment and, again, an external assessment, conduct code of conduct training during this period for officers of the department to establish an organizational culture where any bias-based policing is immediately detected and corrected. So under step one, if you look at the bottom left hand, just above the blue arrow, you'll see the progress that we've been able to accomplish to date. The very next day after adoption by the council on January 24th, I entered into a contract with a group by the name of Noble. They go by Noble. It's the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. And they do consulting work, and they really have a lot of detailed background in this particular topic. We had them on site the 24th of January. They were here for a 4-day period with 3 consultants, independent consultants working together as a team. Interviewed members of the community, did an extensive search of all the records and policies and standards, and took a lot of work with them and began their process. They will now analyze all the data collected, have done some follow-up phone calls and interviews, and they will be complete with their report and anticipate presenting that report to the City Council on March 12th of 2012 in this very room at a council meeting. That's March 12th. Now, the rest of the work, which is outlined in the action item, will be determined based upon the findings and recommendations that come out of that study and what the City Council deems to be appropriate or not appropriate. So the rest of it you really can't talk about until the study's complete. Step 2 action item is basically to complete the purchase and installation of the in-car cameras for the police department, all the patrol cruisers that are in the fleet. The goal there is to provide the ability to record in both audio and video of every traffic stop that takes place, and to provide evidence of illegal or improper activity and to protect officers against false complaints of misconduct. This is anticipated to be completed March 1st, 2012. We're on schedule to do that. Step 3, the action item here is to develop a reliable and a valid police citizen contact data collection and reporting system to collect and analyze data in a timely and cost-effective manner, which would be minimally disruptive to the daily responsibility of our officers. The goal here, again, is to establish a system to analyze and track the data to include the time, the date, the reason and location of consent searches, and probable cause searches. With respect to item 3, this was one that was really addressed early on in the process, in fact, before the moratorium was put in place. This was part of the discussion that the council had back in October. We had this system in place and in operation where we could collect all this information that's identified as well as the location of consent searches. That was put in place on the first day of January 2012, and up between January 1 and January 24th, we had 22 consent searches. We were then reviewing that information to see if there's, some tweaks that were needed in the system and making those changes. We also, during that time period, trained all 383 sworn officers of the department and had them prepared to make the changes that were a part of this new system. So item 4 then is, or step 4 rather, the action is to review, revise, and implement changes to the current citizen and employee complaint process that increases citizen and employee confidence in goals, objectives, policies, and practices of the Fayetteville Police Department. The goal there is to develop and implement a plan for internal reviews of complaints and resolution on a regular basis. Step 4 is part of the scope of work that Noble is to be undertaking, and they will have recommendations regarding the complaint process that we currently use or the one that they are suggesting or changes. That will all come out as a part of the study that will be presented on March 12th, 2012 to the City Council. So that would include the update as of today. Be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
All right, sir. Thank you. Mr. Hare.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Iman. Bullet 3, step 3, this information that you are receiving, is it computerized? Do the guys type it in the on their computers there, or is it written in?
No, it's part of the OSSI
form?
bias-based policing module in the OSSI software, records management system.
So that's something that they actually.
That's correct. We made amendments to the amendments that we had the people from OSSI, which is the name of the company that provides the software that we use, record management software in the police department. They came in and made changes to the software that allowed the new modules needed to put this data in.
Okay.
Didn't exist before, but we had that reconstructed.
And on step 4, I think you probably at the end changed, because on the question I was going to ask you, saying that at the end of after all of the information has been received, that you would be able to answer this. I don't understand if that's what you meant, but presently, how is it taken?
The complaint process, it's a well laid out plan for complaints. So we use best practices, which are identified by CALEA. We use
for example, a citizen has a complaint.
That's correct.
They just go from there. I got a complaint.
Well, there's a number of ways you can file a complaint, but most people would go to the headquarters across the street from City Hall, go to the desk and file a complaint there. The complaint then goes to the Office of Professional Standards, which is the best practice that I started to explain. and an internal investigation of the complaint would be developed. And because it involves personnel, some of that information is protected information that we cannot release, and some of it, in a more general statement, is provided to the complainant as to the findings of the investigation.
Does I guess we call that person the complaintee, or the person that complains, do they get a record or form, receipt, or something that they came in and made a complaint?
I'm not certain of that, sir.
Okay.
I'd have to get back to you on that.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Arp?
Mr. Ryman, thank you very much for the update. Just a couple things. I just want to make sure I captured this information right. 1 March, the camera installation will be complete, and that's a key component of this effort. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then on the 12th of March, Noble will come back and brief the council on their findings and projected solutions that they've developed?
That's correct.
Okay. And then the other note that I had was, you mentioned that from 1 January to 24 January, were there 22 consent searches that were conducted?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I said 22, but that's a number I keep getting in my head. I think there was 19. I believe there was 19 during that time period.
Okay.
And I don't know why I said 22, but I believe it was 19.
And then my last question was, you said that the Esri software that was briefed in October of 2011, that software has been modified so that now, when an officer makes the traffic stop, he or she is entering that data through their laptop through drop-down menus so that we're capturing the time, place, location, and the reason for the consent or probable cause search.
That had to do with consent searches, as I understand. The articulable reason was only for the consent search. I don't believe that was for the probable cause searches, but I may be wrong. I'd have to look into that and get back to you.
But my question I'm driving to is, when we saw the overlays that were presented in October, where we could graphically demonstrate on a map of Fayetteville where the breaking and enterings were, in the future, we'll be able to graphically demonstrate the locations of consent searches. We'll be able to present the times of days when they were done and that type of information. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Massey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Iman referenced step 4. The goal is to develop and implement a plan for internal review of complaints and resolutions on a regular basis. Fully explore an external review process for citizen complaint by an organization external to the Fayetteville Police Department, such as a modified ethics commission. Can you give me an example of what a modified ethics commission might be?
No, I can't. This is, again, part of the study that will be done by Noble. Okay. They have experience with external review boards. They indicated to me, and they will talk about that and talk about the pros and cons, I guess, of that type of a system in the report. But I've not seen that report yet.
But the external review board, as presently envisioned, would be a umbrella or arm of city government, such as, we'll say, human relations, a hybrid of that of sorts.
According to the language drafted here in this moratorium, that's what the folks from Noble will be looking to see if there's a way to do that they feel is still compliant with all the necessary rules and regulations that have to be followed by CALEA.
Thank you very much. And CALEA is going to be the accrediting agency for the FPD. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
And follow up to that, Mr. Massey, you can recall last week, I think we distributed some information from 4 cities in North Carolina, as I recall, Charlotte, Durham, Greensboro, and Winston-Salem, that did have complaint processes that included some version of, and there are multiple versions of third-party oversight. So I think everything's on the table, but the points are better.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Mr. Iman, perhaps you could also take a minute to speak about number 3 here as it relates to the recent reporting issues we have. We're really going back to the basics, it sounds like, and understanding exactly where all our information is coming from and how it's reported, just to make sure as we go forward that we have a high degree of confidence in that reporting, and that includes the information going to the state. Would you briefly speak on that, just this process we're going through to make sure we're getting it right?
Yeah, I'm developing a full report as requested by Mayor Shivani, and hopefully I'll have that report prepared by the end of the day tomorrow. There's a lot of moving parts in the collection and the transmittal of this data, and as we're breaking it down and looking at it. One thing we're certain that we're trying to do is make the information as accurate as possible. It was detected, as you know, back in November, that the use of force module was way out of norm, where it showed it went from roughly around 10 incidents a month to 250 a month, and it was an obvious problem there. When that occurred, I gave a directive to the chief to look at all the statistics and make sure that the statistics are correct. And what we've done was look at 3 different databases. We looked at the SBI database for traffic stops, and then we married that to the database from the CAD system. The CAD system is the dispatch system, if you will, that comes into the 911 center. Every time a call or a traffic stop comes in from the officer, they record that, both in verbal and typed form. And then there's a third records management system. So all 3 systems were compared to try and get the numbers as accurate as we can, or as accurate as we think the most accurate possible. When we did that, we corrected not only the use of force module, but every module within the entire form. And the numbers then were transmitted to the SBI. We learned today that the SBI, in fact, did not have the same numbers that we submitted to them. So there's problems. And this system is not unique, nor is it a problem unique to the city of Fayetteville. It's either somewhere between the SBI and our systems are not working together the way they should. But those problems will be resolved, and that's what we're making sure that we're doing.
Okay, sir. Any other questions for Mr. Diamond?
No, but that's really important.
All right, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's really important.
Thank you. Okay, council will move to tonight's consent agenda. Mr. Hare.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, I would like to pull item 6.4 and 6.8, please.
Okay, we'll take that in the form of a motion to approve the agenda with the consent agenda with exception of 6.4 and 6.8. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Thank you. Let me ask for your vote on that motion, please. All right, that's unanimous. We'll move now to item 6.4, amendment to the city's fees and charges, eliminating the fee for more than 6 bulky item collections at one residence. Mr. Dietzen, thanks for being here tonight, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Jerry, if you would, just give sort of a small, short presentation where we are now. The citizens at one time used to be able to put as many items as they wanted on the curb, and of course, due to, I guess, financial issues for us and other concerns, we took that to 6 bulky item pickups per household. And because of, at least from my perspective, a lot of the complaints that were coming from the citizens, that has changed. Just explain that and where we're going with this now.
Yes, sir. There was a fee that was charged starting in July of this past year. That was an element of a number of other changes to the solid waste ordinance and fee structure. And that fee was $50 per item over 6 items collected as a bulky item collection for one residence in a fiscal year. And of course, that fee was pretty unpopular, we found out,
Yes,
to say the least. And I think there was some unintended consequences of that, where there was additional, there may have been additional dumping from, or it's either real instances where there's additional dumping, illegal dumping, or there was some implied instances where there was some additional dumping, and the citizens thought that that might be causing, that fee might be causing the problem. So actually, our intent there was to reduce the number of yard waste companies or yard service companies who were doing this as a business and actually putting their collections that they've done at different households in front of their house and calling us to collect it, and therefore we are supporting their business. So that was that still is an issue that we'll try to address in another manner, but I believe in that light, it's recommended by staff that we amend the annual fee schedule to remove the $50 fee as was stated earlier.
And that means what, please, just very plainly for the citizens?
That there will be no fee for items, for bulky items at your residence after 6.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, council.
Thank you, Mr. Deason. Any other questions for Mr. Deason? Is there a motion from council?
I make. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Keith.
Motion to approve the change in the fee schedule from 50 to 0.
That's correct.
Second.
All right, Mr. Chair, any discussion on the motion? Ask for your vote, please. That's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Deason. Thanks for being here, sir.
Thank you.
We'll move now to item 6.8 concerning a capital project ordinance amendment and capital project ordinance regarding Century Circle Park facilities and joint use facilities with the Cumberland County Schools. Mr. Gibson, thanks for being here.
Hey, Mayor, City Council members. The Parks and Recreation Department, Fayetteville, Cumberland, has an opportunity to work with the school system. If you know Parks and Recreation over the last 16 to 17 years, our relationship with the Cumberland County school system is probably one of the best in the state and one that we cherish. And we have an opportunity here to work with them in doing some other capital projects throughout the city. We're building an athletic facility over at the New Century Circle. I guess I could show it to you right quick if I can work this. Back in 2007, there was money appropriated in the annexation area to do a community park on Century Circle off of Strickland Bridge Road. The school system is in the process of finishing up that project, and if you can see on the teleprompter in the middle, the Parks and Recreation Department was responsible for doing the athletic facilities. They found that they have some excess funding that only can be used at this facility, so they're asking us to reappropriate our funding to do some other projects throughout the city, and we find that to be very gracious of them. So we want to come before you and ask you to approve that so that we can do these other projects. And all the projects that we're going to do outside of this facility are facilities that we use extensively in Parks and Recreation. So we see this as a win-win throughout the city, working with the school system.
All right, sir. Thanks for that. Mr. Chris?
Mr. Gibson, what kind of money are we talking? School had how much?
The school system will be reimbursing the city of $441,000.
And we had initially appropriated $800,000.
$800,000.
And so we'll use $400,000 out there, and that frees up $400,000 to be used at other facilities.
Yes, sir. Throughout the city.
That's what I want the citizen to understand.
Yeah, it's a unique opportunity to extend taxpayer dollars.
Thank you.
Mr. Hare?
Same here. Mr. Gibson, that's what I really wanted to hear, the collaboration between the county and of course, the city. There were a number of schools that were mentioned in that agenda item. Could you kind of just throw them out there for the citizens,
we're going
please?
We're going to be working it from the northern part, from Pine Forest to Reed Ross to E.E. Smith, Nick Gerald, Westover, Terry Sanford, Max Abbott, Douglas Byrd.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, council.
Okay, any additional questions for Mr. Gibson?
We're going to repair and improve certain things at those locations.
We're going to be doing some tremendous upgrades
Thank you so
to those
much.
facilities.
Yes, sir.
All right, ready for a motion here?
Council, I move to approve item 6.8 capital projects ordinance amendment.
Okay, have a motion. Is there appropriate second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Chris. Any discussion? Ask for your vote, please. That's unanimous. Thank you.
Shirt and tie, sir.
Okay, we'll now move to our public hearings tonight. Give the directions on those, please. First of all, each side will have a total of 15 minutes to present your position, whether you are for or against. Individual speakers will have one time to speak and will be limited to 3 minutes each unless by a previous arrangement a single spokesman is designated, in which case the spokesman may use the entire 15 minutes. When you hear the beep and see the light located on the podium change from green to yellow, that means there's approximately 30 seconds left of your 3 minutes. And when you hear the beep and see the timer located on the podium blink and change from yellow to red, the full 3 minutes has expired. We ask that when your name's called, you come to the podium and state your name and address loudly so we can make note of it for the record. Our first public hearing is item 7.1 concerning a rezoning on Kinlaw Road. Thanks for being here, Mr. Harmon.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. The only zoning case we have tonight is P1205F. The requested action is to go from an SF10 single-family district, excuse me, to an ONI office and institutional district on two properties located on the south side of Kinlaw Road. There are approximately 9 acres in total. You can see here on the zoning map the two areas that are in question. This being Methodist University here to the south. Both of these are properties owned by Methodist. One is actually part of the greater Methodist property. It just has this area here that is still zoned SF15. And then we've got this other property here on Kinlaw, both beside each other on Kinlaw Road, that's still SF15 as well. We've got Ramsey Street out here to the west, and the intersection of Kinlaw, the little strip shopping center here at that intersection. You've got limited commercial there. This particular property is already being developed by the university as their Greek quad. They're already, it's a, I believe, 4-phase project. They've already done the first 2 phases, I believe. There are dorms already built on the property. And what is being done, asked for tonight, the rezoning of these would be to match the zoning of the rest of the Methodist campus. In the past, before our new development ordinance went into effect, under the old SF15 or the R15, the dorms were allowed in that, and so that's how they started building them. With the adoption of the new ordinance, universities are not allowed in the new SF15, and so that's what's prompted this request this evening. As you can see, currently, the main Methodist campus here is office or institutional use. This property still shows up as vacant. They do have a couple of dorms currently owned there. They're only a couple of years old now. Our land use plan calls for both these areas that we're looking at tonight to be in the office institutional type of use, along with, like I said, the rest of the Methodist campus. This project has gone before the Zoning Commission, and both them and staff have recommended approval of the office and institutional district based on the land use plan calling for office and institutional on the property. The fact that 2 phases of this project and dorms have already been built on one of the existing properties, and the fact that under the new development standards, universities are not allowed in the new SF15 district. Are there any questions of staff at this time?
Any questions? All right, sir, stand by. We'll open the public hearing.
Mr. Mayor, our first speaker in favour is Mr. Ben Hancock.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council.
Sir.
I'm Ben Hancock, president of Methodist University, and also live at 234 Kinlaw Road, as well as facing the university side of the campus. The Methodist University is growing, and we really are in need to expand and have this additional residence hall. We will, if we're not able to proceed with the project at this time, we'll have about approximately 80 students that we will not be able to house on campus this coming fall. Methodists will be good neighbors and want to work with the Kinlaw neighborhood. We have done more than is required in terms of trees and shrubbery along Kinlaw Road, including 10 canopy trees. And when concerns from the neighborhood were expressed during the Zoning Commission hearing, we planted an additional 75 Leland cypress trees along the road, as they are one of the fastest growing trees. In time, they will completely block the view of the residence hall. The residence hall will actually cut down on noise that may already be coming from that intramural field, which is in the middle of that complex, by having another building there that in fact would capture some of the noise that may already be experienced in the neighborhood from that area. There'll be no entrance to this complex from Kinlaw Road, and therefore there won't be any additional traffic that would be coming into that area because of this residence hall. The traffic would continue to come in through our gateway, which is on Ramsey Street, so it would not provide or lead to any additional traffic. We also, won't be any parking on Kinlaw Road, and we'll work closely with the city to make sure any enforcement of that area's no parking would be enforced. So all the parking would be in our existing parking. It's on the campus, and there would be no additional traffic that would come on Kinlaw Road. The entrance to the residence hall would be facing the campus, not facing Kinlaw Road. There'll be, actually we think this will also, because of the construction, will bring new jobs during the period of the project. And I personally live, if you look right adjacent to that, just to the east, my home is right there. So I will also, in terms of location, be there to ensure that in terms of noise issues, I'm there for the residents. I'm also there for the neighbors. I do not hide. I cannot hide, given that location. So we respectfully request that this be approved in the interest of the university. And again, we want to be good neighbors, and we'll do all we can to ensure that both in terms of the length of providing the kind of canopy trees and the Leland cypress that will give the barrier and the buffer, that in fact any concerns that might be addressed or concerns of the neighbors, along with the traffic and parking issues that will not occur, would in fact satisfy any of the concerns that might exist in the neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Hancock. Thanks for coming, sir.
Sir, our next speaker is Mr. Del Crawford.
Mayor, if I'd approach, and I want to just hand out.
Give those to the clerk, sir. That'll be wonderful. Thank you.
I'm Dale Crawford with Crawford Design Company, and we are working in conjunction with SFLA Architects and University to expand the campus with the dormitories and all. And just wanted to speak to you a little bit more on the technical side. Certainly we think that the dormitories are a good thing to the campus, and would like to just go over a little bit of information based on the UDO ordinance. And again, the reason why we certainly feel that this rezoning should be approved. First of all, as was talked about, the sensitivity to the neighborhood. It would minimize noise by putting another dormitory there. There was already discussions of exceeding the ordinance by increasing buffers and things of that nature. So we certainly think, the development of this site would not distract from the adjoining neighborhood. Also, the traffic, as was spoke of, there is one entrance on Kinlaw that's strictly for emergency vehicles. That was a request that we had done to the fire marshal and things of that nature. So just for strictly emergency vehicles, there will be no additional traffic, no entrances for the students and faculty off of Kinlaw Road to be strictly for the emergency vehicles and gated as such. And then the other part of sensitivity to the neighborhood is any kind of flooding, stormwater control. If you go out there, you'll see what we call a BMP, which is a stormwater retention system. And we did not, it was not required to do it as an extensive of a retention system that we did, but we certainly want to be in keeping with the neighborhood, make sure the area doesn't flood. So we far exceed what's actually required of the ordinance with flood controls. Then as far as compliance with the ordinance, of course, the buildings will be set back properly, the buffers, the density, all that will be in keeping with the O&I district. To go on, this is actually direct from the UDO ordinance. Down here in yellow, it says, as far as O&I, the district is generally near residential neighborhoods and often serve as a buffer or transition between neighborhoods in the more intense business districts. And that's exactly what we're trying to accomplish. If you'll see on the left-hand map, there is commercial zoning, and the O&I district is next to commercial and then residential. So we do make that transition just like the UDO ordinance calls for. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Crawford. Thanks for being here, sir.
Sir, our next speaker is Mr. Eric Lindstrom.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Eric Lindstrom. I reside at 233 Old Street. I believe most of the points have been covered, and I'm here to answer any technical questions. I was the architect of record on the first two phases of this project. Again, it's residential in character, as is this current phase that's under consideration. We have been through numerous reviews with the Technical Review Committee with the City of Fayetteville, beginning with the first phase, which again envisioned all of these phases. Again, we didn't really discover we had an issue after the implementation of the UDO really until we came back to permit this current project phase. The project is permitted with the exception of the zoning sign-off, and we're certainly anxious to be able to proceed. I'd certainly be happy to answer any other questions you might have about the project, but I believe Dell and Dr. Hancock covered most of the main points, but thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lindstrom. Thanks for being here, sir.
Sir, our next speaker is Mr. Harvey Wright.
I'm Harvey Wright, presently the chairman of the Board of Trustees of Methodist University and also a graduate of Methodist. Honorable Chairman and City Council, we thank you for your time. I'm certainly here in support of this rezoning. We need to have this done to continue to grow. The university's been there for over 50 years. We spend over $50 million a year in the community, in the city, 2,500 students, and about 500 employees that work at Methodist. We need to continue to be able to deliver a quality education for our students, and we need this rezoning to continue to do that. We thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Thanks for coming, sir.
Mr. Mayor, our final speaker in favor is Miss Mary Lynn Bryan.
Hello, my name is Mary Lynn Bryan, and I live at 505 Valley Road here in Fayetteville. I'm here tonight in support of the request from Methodist University. I serve as the vice chair for the Board of Trustees, and I want to assure you that what Dr. Hancock has said and what Harvey has said in terms of the need we have at the university is quite accurate. We want to be a good citizen as well for the neighborhood, and I can tell you that we intend to be and will be, because as a board member, we'll be watching to be sure that our president does exactly what he says he's going to do. Thank you very, very much for permitting us to come and speak to you.
Thank you, Ms. Bryan. Thank you for coming, ma'am. Okay, we'll close the public hearing and entertain any additional questions from...
Sir, that was the final speaker in favor. I have one in
I'm
opposition.
sorry, I apologize for that. I apologize, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay, the one speaker I have signed up for opposition is Mr. Bill Little.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you for having me tonight. My name is Bill Little, 245 Kinlaw Road. I represent the Kinlaw family, Pete and Mary Kinlaw, who are my father-in-law and mother-in-law. Pete is now 98, Mary is 93. They're less than thrilled about what Methodist has done, but they accept it. My purpose was to really object to the thing. That has since changed, thanks to Dr. Hancock. I asked the zoning commission, I'm not foolish enough or nor naive enough to think that we're going to tear down the buildings because they're not in compliance with the zoning. And I support Methodist. I attended Methodist. But what I would like to see is a good buffer between that and the neighborhood. The property that they built the new dorms on, these are basically their fraternity houses, are right across the street from J.D. Kinlaw, my wife's uncle's, where he lived for many years, and right down the street, my father-in-law and mother-in-law live just one block down and across the street from Dr. Hancock. My biggest objection, I'd like to see a buffer. They're coming in there. The fact of the matter is, they built these things and are out of zoning compliance. That can happen to all of us. It's happened to me a time or two. But what I would like to see is, I asked for some Leland cypress. Well, Gene Clayton told me, oh, wait, we're going to put Leland cypress up. Dr. Hancock called the day after I signed up to speak and told my wife that, yes, we're going to put the Leland cypress down. And he has done that, although I wish he would put bigger ones. It's going to take these things about 10 years to get to be big enough where it hides it off. But I do support what Methodist is doing. I just want to be sure they're going to do it. One thing that I'm not happy about, I'm rushing out to see these new trees after my wife called me and said that you put them out there. And what do I see when I get there? Heavy equipment being moved in from Kinlaw Road onto the property. And why didn't you move it in from your side rather than come in from the left side? I guess it's a city street, so I guess, guys, y'all are going to have to pay for fixing up the dents and the cracks and stuff and putting it into the road. But I think they have the best of intentions. I think sometimes being a builder, I wind up with the best of intentions and have a lot of faux pas myself. So I'm not going to tell you I object to it any longer. I will tell you that I think Dr. Hancock is an honorable man, and he's done exactly what he said he would do. Thank you very much.
Little, thank you for coming, sir. Thanks for your insight. Mr. Chris, you have a question, sir?
Yes, I do. For Mr. Wright?
Yes, sir.
I'm looking at this. It says Greek Village number 3. Is that the name of the proposed dorm? And why?
Yes.
How did you come to that name? Is this going to be a Greek letter fraternity house or something?
Eventually, yes. The one we're talking about is going to be a sophomore dorm. Be a sophomore residence dorm.
For Greek letter members?
No.
No. Thank you. Dr. Hancock, you did say something about exceeding the buffer requirements, did you not? Did I understand that?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Is that okay, sir?
Like I say, I like bigger trees, but other than that, I'm fine.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Bates?
Sir, I'd like to make a motion to approve the zoning to O&I district.
Second, sir.
I have a motion and an appropriate second. Any discussion on the motion? Let me ask for your vote, please. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank everyone for being here tonight on that particular case. We'll now move to item 7.2, which is public hearing and consideration of adoption of revisions to Chapter 23 of the Stormwater Management Ordinance. Mr. Kaysen.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. Glad to be here.
This is your public hearing for the consideration on the revisions to Chapter 23, Article 3, Stormwater Management. And prior to that public hearing, I thought I'd just take a brief minute to review how we got to this point. The original Article 3 was passed in 2009, and for the past 3 years, staff as well as the users of that ordinance have had certain technical issues that have been hard to understand or not exactly clear. For that reason, we convened a stakeholders group last fall and met on several occasions to actually go through the ordinance page by page and try to clarify the areas that were giving trouble. As part of these changes tonight, we're also adding to the ordinance requirements that have come down from the Division of Water Quality regarding state Phase 2 stormwater requirements. In doing so, this will allow us to get some efficiencies in government in that we will no longer be required to have 2 stormwater permits. Once these are in the ordinance upon adoption, the state will delegate the authority to us to do the local stormwater program with regard to post-construction. Also, another important point of this is trying to go through the ordinance and clarify items that might not be clear as a result of some of the requirements in the UDO. So we have gone through, and in particular with the performance guarantee required by BMPs, have relaxed that a bit to be more consistent with language found in the UDO. As part of the process, again, I wanted to say we did have a stakeholders group. Also involved was the Stormwater Advisory Board as well as city staff. And in addition to doing the proposing these revisions to the ordinance, we've also developed a rather comprehensive stormwater administrative manual that will help the staff apply the ordinance consistently and also help users outside, external users, understand and apply the ordinance. So I think that's going to go a long way in erasing some of the complications and questions that may have come up in the past. Again, I said we had the staff and the Stormwater Advisory Board involved. They have unanimously asked that these revisions being adopted. We also have received a letter of support from the Home Builders Association. They are in full support of these changes also. And with that, and if you don't have any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Kasem? Nope. Okay, stand by, sir. We'll do the public hearing and see if any additional questions come. Ma'am?
Mr. Mayor, I have no speakers for this item.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing and entertain any additional questions. Hearing none, is there a motion? Mr. Bates?
Make a motion to adopt the proposed revisions to the Stormwater Control Ordinance, Article 3 of Chapter 23 of the City Code Ordinances as presented.
All right, thank you, sir. And I have a second by Ms. Davy. Any discussion on the motion? May I ask for your vote, please? A lot of green lights tonight. Unanimous. Thank you very much. See if we get one more. Have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Thank you.
That's a so move.